grandfather, half brother. His daddy was Jeremiah Carter, and he had 21 kids by 3 different wives. So Charlie Carter was my dad's half uncle. Excuse me. And they were the auctioneers. They were the auctioneers and the real estate people here in Allen County for years. Most of the time it's just them. And he would have a big station wagon, and I went to work for him when I was a little bitty boy, setting the auctions up for them to have the auctions. And he'd have this big station wagon with a big loudspeaker on top, and I'd get in there with him, and he'd drive around town. He'd say, "There's a big auction today down at the real estate office. Come on down, we got pots and pans," and he'd just do that all over town. And sure enough, he'd draw a big crowd, you know. So his name was J.C. Carter, his son was, and J.C. was a Kentucky senator at one time. And he served one full term and then ran again, and the governor of Kentucky he thought was his buddy. He switched sides on him and he lost the race. But that's where the Carter Realty Company come in at, is they built motels. They had 3 motels in Scottsville. One of them had a small swimming pool. They had one in Westmoreland, Tennessee, and they're all gone now. Even they're torn down, you know, been gone. He's been dead for several years. But I worked for him until I was way up in high school.
Well, we're going to have to get Jeff a loudspeaker and put it on his truck and let him drive around for 3 or 4 days before this.
Advertise this?
Yeah.
I was about 14 or 15 years old, and JC had a builder supply in town. They sold refrigerators and washing machines and that sort of stuff. His delivery truck was a Chevrolet El Camino, and I didn't have a driver's license. He didn't ask me if I had a driver's license. He'd say, "Billy Ross," he talked fast like this. He said, "Billy Ross," I said, "I want you to drive out on the Glasgow Road to Johnny Smith's house and take that washing machine out there to him." I said, "I don't know where he lives." He said, "You'll find it when you get out there. Just ask me." Well, I'd get in that El Camino. You know, I wanted to drive. I didn't tell him. And I'd take it out there, and I'd stop at the neighbors, you know, and ask, and he'd point me to where to go. And we did that. One time, I believe I just got my driver's license, and he said, "Billy Ross, getting that El Camino." He drove Cadillacs all the time, big, white, fancy Cadillacs. Billy Ross said, "Getting that El Camino," said, "Follow me down to Nashville." Said, "We're going to go down there and going to load that up with washing machines." He had a wholesaler down there he bought those from. I didn't know where Nashville was at. I'd heard of Nashville. I'd seen it on television. But I followed that Cadillac all the way down to Nashville. They backed up to this hardware store and they loaded it up. He said, "Billy Ross," said, "we're going to eat lunch. If he eats steak, I eat steak." Whatever he had, he treated me like a king. He said, "We're going to eat lunch." He said, "I got some more business down here. You take that back to Scottsville." I thought, I don't remember the road numbers. I don't know how to get back to Scottsville. He said, "Start out, you'll find your way. Go north. Just go north." Well, 31E was the way to go back then to Nashville. And I got on 30 Wood W. I drove a while and I said, "I don't recognize anything here at all." So I stopped at this service station and I said, "I need to go 31E north." He said, "Drive 2 blocks down through here and turn right. That'll take you back to Gallatin, Tennessee." And I knew how to get back from Gallatin. But that's where the Carter family fell in out there. There's a place here out in the county called Shooting Hill. Shooting Hill is the name of the community out there. And I'd ask around, wonder why they call it Shooting Hill. And they said, "Well, you know your Uncle Charlie Carter." And I said, "I know Dad's uncle, yeah." Well, his half-brother and them, their father had passed away. And back then, everybody set up at the house, you know, until time to bury him. They'd set up all night. He's passed away, and he said they were setting up with him, and said one of Charlie's brothers went to the smokehouse and took 2 country hounds down that they had curing in the smokehouse and was fixing to steal it. And as he got ready to load that truck and drive off that hill, Charlie Carter come out with a pistol and shot him going off the hill. So they named that area, and it's still called Shooting Hill.
Don't mess with the Carter.
Don't mess with Carter back then, especially. They'll shoot you.
Well, yes. was talking about family, every year I meet more family, nephews or nieces or something. So it's just it's been a wild ride. So I didn't know if Lois, Jean, or Larry Carter until after they both. Well, I used to read the gas meter at Lois Jean's house.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And you didn't
For
know?
years, no. And my last day, they were always sitting in the garage when I'd walk by. Well, she wasn't out that day, but he was. And I said, well, you'll have a new man next month, because I was getting ready to retire. That's been 13, 14 years ago. And I shook his hand. Of course, I had his name on my account, but don't remember what it is now. He says, my wife was a Carter. I said, really? And she come out and talked with me for a half hour. That was the last meter that I had on that route that day. And she evidently knew that my dad was her dad, but then nobody told me anything. So.
Did I tell you the story about me and Delmas killing his pig?
It was what? You and Delmas what?
Delmas lived up here in Maryland. Y'all know where they lived up here on the road. I lived in the Bedford Stone house coming down through here. And Delmas had a couple of hogs that he was raising for meat and that sort of stuff. They kept getting out all the time. He'd come in from work and have to go catch those hogs and get them back in and all that sort of stuff. And I was eating supper there one night and Delmas knocked on the door. Come in, Dale. He said, I need your help. I said, what's the matter? He said, I'm tired of chasing those hogs. He said, you still got that 30-30 rifle? And I said, yeah. He said, will you go with me to kill those hogs? And I said, yeah. It was getting late in the afternoon, I guess 4 or 5 o'clock, something like that. So we went to the back of his house and went back off in there. There's a good piece back in there. And there was a fence there, and those hogs had got up against that fence. And he said, shoot them for me. Well, I could kill a groundhog as far as I could see it back then. So I shot, boom, the hog jumped up and fell down, and the other one started running, and I reloaded, and boom, again, got him. Dale said, what are we going to do with him now? And I said, I don't know, what had you planned on doing with him? He said, I had him for meat hogs. He said, let me go to the house and get some rope, and we'll come back and we'll drag him back to the house. So we did. Your dad was living down here then, at that time, sick. He'd had heart trouble. And Delmas had this big water barrel. And we built a big fire under this water barrel. And we tied the hog's feet to this tobacco pole. And we lowered them down in this heat and just boiling them. And we got them out and we tried to scrape the hair off of them. This wouldn't scrape. He said, let me go talk to Dad. He'll know what to do. So he come back and he brought Carrie with him when he come back. Carrie looked at him. He said, you've set the hair on them. He said, you've had the water too hot and it set that hair. He said, you can't scrape it. He said, you're going to have to skin them. So we hung those hogs up and we skinned them just like you skin a deer. Got the skin off of them. And quartered them out. He showed us how to quarter them out, what we didn't quarter them out. We didn't have a clue. So we quartered them all out. And Delmas and them, I don't know if they put them in the freezer or what they do with it. I went home. It was after midnight by the time I got home. But we killed those hogs. And your dad showed us every move to make. We didn't, Dale nor me, either one didn't know what to do with it.
Dad could do about anything.
They say he could.
Yeah.
There was a fella that lived around here, up there close to where your dad lived, by the name of Bill Raymond Carter. I don't know if you knew him or not. He was a retired fella. And he loved Carrie to death. I mean, he knew Carrie back when they were young and living here, and he knew he had moved to Indianapolis, and he didn't talk. Bill didn't talk too plain, you know. And you'd say, Bill, Carrie and him's coming in. He'd say, me no. But your dad must have treated him real good because he loved a lot of it.
Yeah, Roger was a lot like Dad. He could kill anything and quarter it out, do anything like that.
He was a motorcycle man. He rode motorcycles, Roger did, a lot, as you know.
Yeah.
And I think he probably passed away with colon cancer as well, didn't he? Like that. Dale loved motorcycles.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell the difference from them and my own true blood. You know, they were all the way till they were grown, died out. You know, we were always close. Dad had a son by his first wife, and when he was 14 years old, he caught a freight train and went to Detroit, Michigan to visit an aunt and stayed. Depression time was on during that period of time, I reckon. And he became a cook on a ship that went across Lake Michigan and back. They'd go across one day and come back the next, hauling freight cars to Wisconsin. And he was a cook on that ship. And about once a year, his family would come down from Detroit and come to our house and stay a few days with us, and then go back to Detroit. We had outdoor plumbing. They had, you know, they lived in a big city. They had the plumbing. That was one thing that was hard for them to do. You know, when they come down, is outdoor plumbing. But that was life back then. I didn't know the difference. You know, we went to town. We would go into Scottsville maybe once every month or maybe 2 months for groceries and stuff. The rest of the time, it's just little country stores around here. You know, I didn't know the difference.
I remember getting the first inside bathroom at my house.
Do you?
We had an outhouse. That was, you know, just after the Depression, but nobody told us that it was over.
Yeah.
Dad had everything he owned, little shack and a little 2-car garage. Made it into living quarters. People were renting them.
Dale told me that back during then, before you'd come down on the interstate, y'all would call it down home. Let's go down home. And Dale said that y'all would come down 31E and come through the wigwam village where they had the big Indian teepees and things of that nature.
Yeah.
That's the way y'all come and went back then. And the time that I rode up to Indiana to your mom's house with Dale, we went that way. And he was showing me different things that y'all remembered and stuff. But we come back on the interstate. It's a lot faster.
I prefer the interstate.